into things. That video you just saw, that was YLA Luda. He's a local artist right here in Dallas, Texas. He actually is by way of Louisiana. I'm sure you could tell by his accent. But that was, like I said, YLA Luda, one of my potential customers that was trying to buy a car from me. Let me know he rapped, so I told him I'll put you on my show, and that's what I did. And I really liked the content of the music. Also, before I even go any further, let me just say, rest in peace, rest in love, rest in heaven, Danye, aka D Benz. Long live D Benz, man. Gone way, 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 way too soon. I actually had a picture that I need for to be put up right now in respect of my little cousin. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Danye. Like I said, 17 years old, you didn't deserve to go out the way you did. And unfortunately, fucked up shit happens. We live in a fucked up world. So like I said, rest in peace, Danye. Like Mo3 said, everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't your partner. You know what I'm saying? Got caught up in a dumbass situation. Um, with that being said, I'm going to jump right into the show today. I'm not going to do too much motivation because I got a really crazy true crime story that I need to tell y'all. But just real quick, I'm going to just say the motivation of this week is know your worth. You know what I mean? Know your worth. Know your value. Know what you deserve. And don't accept anything less than that. Don't accept anything less than what you deserve. And if you feel in your heart, in your spirit, in your mind that you're not being, number one, appreciated, number two, valued, number three, enriched by a situation, if you feel as though you're being taken for granted, and I mean legitimately, not you feel away because somebody didn't do something you wanted them to do one time. But if you legitimately know that you're being taken for granted, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a job situation, a extracurricular situation, whatever it is, you have to always know your worth. And once you start, like I said, having thoughts or feelings that your worth is not being met, it's time to make other plans. And I'm gonna keep it that short and simple. Know your worth. Know your worth. Know your worth. We all have a value. You determine what your worth is, not anybody else. You determine what your worth is. And you need to live each day in that worth, in your value. You know what I mean? So if you feel like this is a sign, it is. If you feel like you haven't quite been walking in your purpose, or you feel as though you have been allowing yourself to be undervalued, it's time to stop that shit. It's time to speak up for yourself. And it's time to take what's yours. And it's time to stop allowing people to not pay you what you deserve. And I mean that in so many ways. Not just money, but whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's recognition, whatever it is, it's time for you to take what you deserve. It's that simple. All right? I'm going to jump right into the true crime. I just want to comment real quick. People in Miami is acting like coronavirus ain't never happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, coronavirus is a thing. And y'all is down there for spring break. It's going to be that. It's going to be it. Spring broke. It's done. It ain't going to be no more break. You're going to die. So I don't know what the fuck y'all was thinking in Miami. Big in them big ass groups and crowds. Like, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't like groups and crowds like that on a regular basis. So it was kind of just freaking me out seeing that during Corona. And far be it for me to act like I just been quarantined safe during this whole pandemic, but I damn sure ain't been in a part of no type of situation in that fashion. So whoever was down in Miami last week, RIP, you know what I'm saying? Praying for the family, real talk. All right, we're going to jump right into the true crime segment. Like I said, I have a very crazy story for y'all this week. Honestly, this is the most disturbing story that I have ever covered. The whole time I've been doing this show. This is by far the most disturbing story I've ever covered. It is the story of Mitchelle Blair. Now, let me just say this. Before I even get into what she did, when I heard her name and I actually like started researching and realized that it wasn't a typo the first time, Mitchelle. It's like Michelle, but they put Mitch in it. So I'm guessing, I'm hoping and praying that her father's name was Mitchell. Because otherwise, I could have told y'all a long time ago, you can't trust nobody named Mitchelle. I've never heard the name. I don't like it. I don't like her as a person. Mitchelle, that was a mistake. So, whoever chose the name, I'm sorry, you made a very, very, very grave error in judgment. I would have never trusted a Mitchelle. The name alone sends chills up my spine. But anyway, let's jump right into the true crime. So, for the parents out there, I guess I need to just ask y'all directly. What would you do? And listener discretion for this episode. So if you have little ones, this is not the episode of the Black Podcast Show that they need to be listening to. Seriously. If you got a weak stomach, if you don't like hearing about true crime, just know that this is a heavy episode. Seriously. But yeah. So parents, mothers, what would you do if you found out that your child had been sexually assaulted? I assume that your immediate response is going to be to bring harm to whomever assaulted the child. I assume that your immediate response is going to be to resolve the situation. I assume that as a parent, you would probably be broken more than anything right off bat. You know? I assume that you probably wouldn't know how to handle that situation. But I assume probably your first instinct would be to bring harm, possibly even death, to the person that caused such destruction to your child. And I think that's a fair response. I don't think anybody would disagree. I don't think anybody would say you're overreacting. I think anybody with a half a brain and a half a heart would completely understand a parent's extreme reaction to finding out their child had been sexually abused. But what do you do? How do you react? How do you resolve when the abuser is another one of your own children? Is your first instinct still to hurt and even kill that abuser? The same way you would react if it was, a family member, a different family member, or even a random person, or even a friend or neighbor. Well, Mitchelle found herself in that situation, and I think that she handled the situation in a way that nobody expected, and that a lot of us consider inappropriate and unacceptable, but it was the way she saw fit. So back in March of 2015, late March 2015, 35-year-old Mitchelle Blair was arrested and charged with 2 counts of felony murder. She was charged with 2 counts of premeditated murder and 1 count of torture for the deaths of her 2 children, 13-year-old Stoney and 9-year-old Steven. Now, let's just go back a couple years to when Stoney and Steven actually died. So this is a picture here of obviously Mitchelle in custody. That's Stoney up top and Steven on bottom. And it really breaks my heart to even see this picture because I don't think they deserved this. But Mitchelle had 4 kids. She didn't just have Stoney and Steven. I won't call the names of the surviving 2, but she had an older daughter, and then there was Stoney, Then there was Steven, and then she had a baby boy. So I'll just call him baby boy, and I'll call the older girl the oldest girl. So one day Michelle comes home to her oldest daughter, meeting her at the door and telling her that baby boy was making his two male wrestling dolls hump each other. Alarmed by the news, Michelle questioned the boy. She asked him, excuse me, baby boy, why are you doing this? Baby boy, where did you see this? Where did you get this from? Did somebody do this to you? And I mean, to me, that's a fair line of questioning. Right off the bat, she addresses it. She doesn't try to run away from it. She asks him, why are you doing this? Where did you get it from? Did someone do this to you? He denies it. And then he said yes. He revealed that his older brother, Steven, had been humping him, had been doing what he was making his wrestling dolls do to him. And so Michelle is immediately distressed. She immediately leaves the room, immediately starts walking back and forth in the hallway, and then she grabs Steven and starts questioning him. And as you can imagine, she immediately became enraged at Steven's answers. When Michelle asked Steven, did you do that? She expected him to say, what? No, I didn't do that. According to Michelle, she knew her kids, and she knew that had he not done it, that's what he would have said. But she said he just looked. For a while, he just looked at her and didn't say anything. And she said immediately that's when she knew that he had done it. And then she said he admitted to it. He said, yes, I did do it, but that's all. And then she said she left the room again. She said she remembers pacing back and forth in the hallway. And then she came back in the room and she asked him, did you hump him without your underwear? And Steven said no, but baby boy interrupted and said, yes, he did. Mind you, baby boy around this time was about 5, maybe 6. So to me, for him to make those kind of allegations is a bit extreme. So if he was lying, unfortunately, that's when the torture began for Steven. In some stories that I've read and some of the research that I've done, she started punching Steven after he made all these confessions. And I mean, she was punching him, beating the hell out of him over and over again. But in a couple of the cases that I heard, she was beating him to make him admit. So she immediately believed baby boy and started beating Steven, telling him to tell her the truth, to say that he did it. And so the thing that bothers me about that is those are two totally different things. If she asked him before hitting him and he said yes, that's one thing. But if she, as his mother, is beating the hell out of him and saying, say you did this, admit to it, that's different. That's him saying he did it because he was getting the hell beat out of him, like I said. So that kind of concerned me. She threw scalding hot water on his genitals in the bathtub because, according to her, he, quote, ruined her son with his dick. And as all this torture went on for a couple of weeks, baby boy kept telling her more and more stuff. And in some situations, she would actually recreate what baby boy told her happened to him. So baby boy told her that in the middle of the night sometimes Steven would make him get up, take him to the basement, and make him drink blue stuff. So Mitchelle said she didn't know what that meant, so she made him show her. And he took her to the basement, and there was Windex down there. And baby boy said that Steven was making him drink the Windex. So she made Steven drink Windex. In addition to her beating him, scalding him, she made him drink Windex. And then she said that the baby boy told her that Steven used to pee on him. So she thought that because, the baby boy was 5 or 6, she thought he was a bedwetter. Come to find out, according to baby boy, Steven was peeing on him. Steven was waking up every morning peeing on him. And so she had put plastic covers on his mattress. Of course, parents that have bedwetters, you know what that is. Or if you used to be a bedwetter, you know what that is. So she had plastic covers on the mattress, and baby boy told her, and this is when it starts getting really bad. It's already bad, but baby boy told her that when Steven was, humping him or whatever, assaulting him basically, he would push his face in the plastic, the mattress cover, and he couldn't breathe. And so Mitchelle would put a plastic bag over Steven's head and ask him how he felt. Ask him did he like that. Ask him could he breathe. And so then baby boy said that Steven would wrap a shirt or his cover or something around his neck so he couldn't breathe or so to choke him. And so Mitchelle wrapped a belt around Steven's neck and would basically hold him up by the neck in a noose fashion. And man, that's just a lot to me. I'm just like, I feel for baby boy, but goodness. So, and according to baby boy, this happened every night. That his older brother was supposedly sexually molesting him. And at one point, baby boy said that Steven was humping his butt like a basketball, and that he peed in his eye, but it was gooey. So you can just imagine what that was. Now, Steven was only 9 years old, so I don't know how true any of this is, y'all. And I don't know why Mitchelle would lie, or I don't know why baby boy, I don't think a child could lie about all that. A child has no knowledge of all that. So, when Mitchelle heard all that, obviously she was broken and she was enraged, and she, like I said, tortured Steven so severely that he eventually succumbed to his injuries. He died. And according to Mitchelle, she didn't mean to kill Steven. She states over and over again that she did not mean to kill Steven, but that she did not regret his death. She wasn't remorseful. But she stated that the day before Steven actually died, she had told herself that she was going to stop because he looked really bad. According to her, she wasn't starving him, but he had lost weight and he was just throwing up. And so the next morning, after she claims that she was about to stop the abuse and torture, she goes in his room, and he was laying in like a pile of his own throw up. She said that his heartbeat was very faint, and according to her, he usually had a very strong heartbeat. And so she took him to the bathroom, and she said that he couldn't hold himself up. And, eventually, as she was holding him, she said he died in her arms. And she wrapped him up in his favorite comforter. It was some kind of cartoon bedspread. And she put him in the deep freezer that was in the family's living room. Yes, Mitchelle Blair tortured her son for 2 weeks until he died, and then she took his body, his 9-year-old body, and put it in the freezer, the deep freezer of her living room. Now, the thing is, we'll probably never know, and maybe it's best, but I don't know where the other children were when Mitchelle did this, because it doesn't make sense to me that they didn't know that their little brother was in the deep freezer at that time. So I don't know if they did know or what, but I don't know if they were still using the deep freezer either. That's another thing that concerns me, was his body in there next to food, frozen food that they went on to actually use. So that's the part that's concerning. So some months go by. Steven's body is still in the freezer. And baby boy reveals that his older sister, Stoney, had sexually assaulted him as well. So Stoney is the second oldest now. Stoney's the middle child now. She's the baby girl at this point. And baby boy revealed that Stoney had sexually assaulted him as well. He said that Stoney would make him watch her and Steven do what he referred to as the nasty stuff. Okay, so real quick, if you're watching, I just want you to take a quick glance at the screen. And this is, we're showing now pictures of the Blair's apartment, or the projects. So the apartment and the projects. And this picture really disturbed me. A lot of the pictures you're going to see are going to disturb you because Mitchelle Blair lived in a nasty-ass household. She wasn't the cleanest woman, as I'm sure you can imagine. But hold on, go back real quick, Llama, to that picture of the freezer. That deep freezer picture disturbs me because you can see that there's a chair sitting in front of the deep freezer. The reason that concerns me is just because unless the police moved that right there, I feel like Mitchelle was sitting in front of that deep freezer sometimes talking to her kids. Why would that chair be right there facing the deep freezer? Either Mitchelle maybe was sitting in front of it talking to the kids, dead bodies, or, I don't know, maybe one of the other kids was. To me, it's just disturbing that that chair is right there facing the opening of the deep freezer like that. So anyway, so like I said, months later, baby boy reveals that Stoney, his older sister, would make him watch her and Steven do the nasty stuff, as he called it, and then they would both assault him. That they would make him do nasty stuff. And so, of course, at this point, Mitchelle is beside herself. Not only is she enraged, but she is probably once again even more broken. One thing that Mitchelle indicates in every interview that I've seen of her is that she was very, very, very... She felt very strongly about people touching kids. And what I mean she felt strongly is that she hated it. That was something that was big for her, that she would protect any kid that was being molested, or she would protect any kid from being molested. So that was something that was really big for her because as a child, according to Mitchelle, she had been sexually assaulted by a friend of her mother's, a female friend of her mother's. And I don't know if that's the only time it occurred, but obviously that had a very big impact on Mitchelle, a very negative impact on Mitchelle. So she stated that it took her a very long time to come clean to her mom and tell her, hey, Mom, this is what happened to me. And she said when she told her mom said, well, bitch, what the fuck you want me to do about it? It's already done with now. And honestly, that broke my heart for Mitchelle. Because what kind of mother says that to their child? Even if Mitchelle told her as a grown-ass adult woman, your only response as the mother should have been going to that female house and beating the fuck out of her. And excuse my language, but to me, that's the only, anything else is uncivilized. But that's not what Mitchelle mothers did. And so, in turn, Mitchelle probably had a very, very deep sense of insecurity. And I don't mean insecurity as far as, oh, I'm not attractive, or oh, I'm fat, or I'm ugly. But I mean she felt unsecure. in every sense of the word. I believe that Mitchelle probably had a very deep insecurity, and she was determined that her kids would never feel that way. So, with Steven telling her that Stoney had did that stuff to her, she immediately began abusing Stoney, and pretty much a similar way to the way she abused Steven. She immediately, but it was a little bit more severe. She hit Stoney with her fist, she punched her, she beat her, but she also beat her with wooden planks. She would use 2x4s to beat her. And I mean, Stoney's what Baby Boy said that Stoney did to him was extreme. At one point, he said that Stoney would actually take her menstrual pads and make him, I can barely say it, but she would squeeze the blood out and basically into his mouth or something like that. And to me, that's so extreme for a child to say all that. But that's what Baby Boy said according to Mitchelle. And so, of course, once he told Mitchelle all that, she was just beating the hell out of Stoney. She started starving Stoney. And she asked Stoney at one point, tell me why Steven didn't tell me that it was you, that you had done this to him. And according to her, around the time when Mitchelle was torturing Steven, she didn't want to see him. So once she got done beating him, she would send him to his room. And even when it was dinner time, he wasn't allowed to come down. And she said that Stoney would volunteer to take Steven's food to his room. And apparently once she took his food to his room, she would just beat his ass again and tell him, you better not tell mom that I did this to you. And because Mitchelle had put so many bruises and scars and everything on Steven, she didn't notice the ones that Stoney was putting on him. So I don't know how true all this is. To me, I can't figure out why Mitchelle, I don't know. To me, all this just seems very extreme. It all seems very extreme. Now, to add insult to injury, in the early 2000s, I want to say 2005 and maybe 2006, I know it was the early 2000s, Mitchelle had already gotten CPS involved in her family business for allegations of abuse. So this occurred, like I said, twice. And I believe the first time it was because the two girls had the same father and the two boys had the same father. So the girls had at some point went to their father's house, and their father's sister was bathing them, and she noticed scars all over the girls' backs. And what the dad said was they looked like, of course she called the dad in there, and the dad said they looked like healed whelps. So, of course, they called CPS, and basically CPS just simply referred Mitchelle to services. And there was no way to find out if she actually followed up and attended those services because somehow her file was destroyed. Now, mind you, these allegations of abuse were substantiated. A medical professional agreed that they looked like scars left from abuse. But nothing ever happened. And then a year or so later, and she's once again up on these charges or these abuse allegations, they are found to be substantiated, and nothing. So I'm just going to say it. Detroit CPS in general, but Detroit CPS dropped the ball on that one. They really, really dropped the ball on that one. The fact that there was no follow-up, these abuse allegations were absolutely substantiated, absolutely found to be true, and nothing was done. But what I will also say is the fathers weren't in any kind of place to take their kids either. Neither of the fathers had their own housing. The boy's father was in and out of jail all the time. And the girl's father just said that every time he called about his daughters, he was told, oh, she's at an aunt's house, or oh, she's mad at you, or they don't want to talk to you. And so the fathers claim that they were purposely kept out of the children's life. And both fathers claim that Mitchelle told them that they weren't allowed at her home. So, I mean, just a extreme situation. Like I said, March 2015 is when Mitchelle was arrested. So she killed Stephen first. Stephen was killed in August of 2012. And Stormy was killed about almost 9 months later in May of 2013. And just in court, man, this lady is a piece of work. Just in court, her outburst and her lack of remorse. Just look at her. She looks gross. This is one of the times where she was outbursting, telling the fathers that they had never been there. She begged them to come see their kids. Every time their kids wanted to go with them, they were busy. And I believe her on that. I honestly, to be honest, I feel very sorry for Mitchelle. Now, I don't by any means justify what she did. I don't by any means want to take anything away from what she did, because those kids did not deserve that. And if what she said really occurred in terms of the sexual abuse, the kids needed help, because for any little girl, Stormy, to be sexually abusing her little brothers, something happened to her. I believe something had to have happened to her for her to do that to them, to feel that was, for her to repeat that came from somewhere. And it's just a really sad situation. Ultimately, she did go to jail for life. And one thing I hated when I watched, because I watched a lot of the trial, and one thing that I hated was initially she just, of course, admits to the murders and says that she wants the death penalty. She'll take life. She'll take the death penalty. And no, you don't get the death penalty. I'm glad that Detroit doesn't have the death penalty. The state of Michigan, rather. You don't get that. You don't get to decide, she probably does want to die. She act like she has no remorse, but at the end of the day, you don't kill your kids, no matter who you are, and feel nothing at all. I don't believe that. And at one point, she even tells the judge, because they had to actually do, whatever the test is to determine if a person is sane enough, is competent enough, rather, to stand trial. And so she was pretty much questioning, why do I have to go to trial? Why is this necessary? I did what I did. I'm not going to ever come back and say that I didn't do it. I'm not going to ever come back and say that I didn't understand. I killed them, and I feel no remorse. Those was not my kids. Those were demons. She says those words. And then at one point, she even says, I'm not a coward. I'll stand up and face my time. I'll do my time. I'm not a coward. Yes, the fuck you are. What the fuck are you talking about? You hid them kids' bodies in your fucking deep freezer in your living room, bro, for 2 years. Like, how the fuck are you not a coward, bitch? You didn't go to jail. You did not turn yourself in. And according to her, after she killed Stoney, she told Baby Boy, I have to turn myself in. I killed somebody. I'm going to jail. And she said, he was asking her, what does that mean? What are you saying? And she told him, I'm going to have to leave. I'm going to jail. And according to her, Mitchelle, he told her he didn't want her to go. And so because of that, because of quote unquote everything he had been through, she wasn't going to leave him. But once she got arrested and the kids got a medical exam, they found over 25 healed bruises and scratches and welts and belt marks and extension cord marks all over both of the kids' bodies. Now, mind you, at this point, the oldest girl is 17. Baby Boy is like 6, 7 at this point. So, or I think he was 8. He was 8. Yeah, he was 8 and she was 17. How is it that you doing all this to quote unquote protect your kids, but the only one to steady abusing them is you? It's not normal to constantly leave marks on your kid's body as a form of discipline. That's not normal. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. So, she can say she loves her kids all she wants, but I find that hard to believe. And in addition, after she killed Stoney and Steven, she took the oldest girl and baby boy out of school, out of public school, and stated that she was going to homeschool them. So, to me, well, and of course she did that because she didn't want people to know. She didn't want anyone to know that that her other two kids were dead, but you don't care about your kids. You can't say that you care about your kids when you do stuff like that. You cut them off from the world. And then the two kids, the two surviving kids at one point knew that their brother and sister were in that deep freezer. I don't know how long they knew. And that's what scares me. But according to Mitchelle, at one point she showed them. She opened up the deep freezer and showed them the bodies. And she said the oldest girl just started crying uncontrollably. And she said baby boy looked at her and said, "You're going to be in trouble." It's no way that you can go through your life. It's no way that you can sleep peacefully knowing that not only did your mama beat the fuck out of you probably on a daily basis, but knowing that your mom has killed your brother and sister and their bodies are in the freezer. How do you not feel every moment that you might be next? So, Mitchelle Blair really did a number on all four of her kids. And I hate that two of them came to death because of, to me, unresolved trauma, PTSD, paranoid schizophrenia, perhaps. There's a part of me that just finds a really hard time believing that any sexual abuse occurred. And if it did, I find a hard time believing that it occurred to the extent in which she stated. I don't know what happened, but I think that she is giving an extreme recollection of events to try to justify the fact that she killed her children. At no point did she try to get the children help. According to her, actually, once she found out what Steven did, she called the police and offered a hypothetical situation. She stated that a friend's son had been molesting his little brother, and she wanted to know what would happen if all the children would be removed from the house if she reported it. And the officer said yes, that in a situation like that, they remove all children from the house to, determine where the abuse began. So for that reason, she didn't turn Steven in because she was afraid that she would lose all her other children, and just unacceptable. Some people say that they can understand what she did because of what the kids allegedly did to their sibling. And I mean, I kind of get it, don't get me wrong, and in a way I get it, but you don't kill your kids. You don't kill anybody unless they have already harmed your kids, but you still don't kill your own kids. Like, get them some help. Like I said, I find a hard time believing. And she says that she told her kids what she went through as a child, and she says that she told her kids in graphic detail what she went through as far as her own sexual assault. So, and I also think that's never a good idea. Like, there's no reason to tell a 9-year-old, oh, I was raped when I was a kid, so make sure if you ever get raped, tell me. One involved when they picked her name and named her as Mitchelle. So I don't trust your ass anyways. You don't need to have an opinion on anything at all. Whew. So like I told y'all, that was very heavy. If that was a little too much for you, I apologize. But we're going to go ahead and move on to something a bit more light, something a bit more fun, something that's not so serious. We're going to move on to the Tay Talk. And I'm just going to talk about some bullshit. You know what? I'm going to call this segment in today's episode of social media be having me invested in shit that I will never, ever, ever care about. Because why do social media be having me in these people's business that I don't know, genuinely don't care about, and probably will never meet? But anyway, Saweetie and Quavo broke up. If you're wondering who either one of those people are, it's okay. Quavo is part of the Migos. Migos from songs like Versace, Versace, Versace. Or let me see, if you what song might you know by the Migos? Oh, my chick, bad and bougie, cooking up dope with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. If you you probably don't know these songs, but the Migos is a group of 3 young men who are incidentally not Hispanic, but they make rap songs, and a lot of the kids like to turn up, get lit, and just have a good time to the songs. And this Quavo is the Beyonce of the Migos. And Saweetie, if you you don't know who Saweetie is, so I'm not even going to try to tell you. She got a couple songs. Oh, you might know My Type. Rich nigga, 8 figures, that's my type. That's my type. I don't. So, but if you once again, you don't know who Saweetie is. She a new little young rapper chick. Little influencer, Instagram, Fashion Nova chick or whatever. But I think Saweetie got more going on than the average Instagram chick. But anyway, her and Quavo have been dating for about maybe 2 years. Just December, Quavo bought the girl a Bentley for Christmas, a $350,000 car. He bought this girl for Christmas. $350,000. I just asked my girl earlier what she wanted from the dollar menu from McDonald's. Not even a value meal. We on a dollar menu. He done bought this girl a $350,000 Bentley. But apparently the huncho Quavo is an Indian giver, because there are allegations that as of yesterday morning, he had the car repoed from her home. So just imagine Saweetie waking up. You know, it's probably about 11, 12 o'clock. She rolling out of bed. She ain't really got too much to do. But she about to get dressed. You know what I'm saying? Put on her baddest Fashion Nova outfit. Take a few pictures out by the pool. Then she gonna hop in the Bentley and peel off. You know what I'm saying? Go to the hood, or whatever the hood would be considered for famous people in L.A. She finna go there and kick it. She get outside. She done already took the pictures by the pool. Motherfucking Bentley gone. So I thought that was kind of petty. But, you know, apparently I just found out today that Saweetie's grandfather was an NBA player, a retired NBA superstar. Her mother was some kind of video vixen. Her cousin is Gabrielle Union. So apparently she went to UCLA. So what I'm being told is Saweetie would be just fine without Quavo. Quavo posted a picture of him in front of a microphone, so you know what that means. He's about to drop Culture 16 or whatever the next Migos album is. So I think they'll both be just fine. I'm not too worried about it. But I do have a question. Is it petty that Quavo took his Bentley back? Or is it fair? And the reason I say that is because if he repoed the car, then it's either one or two things, or both. Clearly the car was not in Saweetie's name, because you can't repost some shit that's in my name. That's mine. 2, clearly the Bentley was like leased, not purchased. So it was like it was a car note. And that's fine. I got a car note. But I don't know. That's just kind of weird to me. Like, to me, that's always been strange. And I mean, I know people do it. But to me, that's weird to get me a car note as a gift. Unless he was paying it, which I guess he probably was. I don't know. Whatever the case was, Quavo about to be riding around in a Bentley. You know what I'm saying? That's his bent thing now. So I'm going to say fair, not petty. And they probably... Oh, and then you know what? So I heard that the reason they broke up is two reasons I heard. Some people are saying that Quavo cheated. Saweetie definitely insinuated that he cheated. But another thing was Saweetie recently did a podcast show where Justin Combs, who is Diddy's son, who was apparently her ex-boyfriend, was the host. Now, mind y'all, once again, this segment is called Social Media Be Having Me Invested in Shit That I Do Not Care About. So, I found out all this information today. I promise y'all, this is some shit that I don't care about, but I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, she was on a show with her ex-boyfriend, who was P. Diddy's son, Justin Combs. And on the show, the host, either Justin or his co-host, whose name is also Justin, asked her, would she give her man a threesome? Now, as y'all know, if you're into social media, that question has been kind of big over the past couple years. The discussion of polygamy, the threesome talk, all that has been very popular specifically. And Saweetie responded, I feel like, kind of in a dope-ass way, in a slick-ass way. She said, yeah, and unfollowed her on Instagram. So, I don't know. I feel like if I was Quavo and I heard my girl say that, I would probably think, oh, but maybe it's the fact that she was on a podcast with her ex-boyfriend, kikiing and ha-haing and, talking about sex. Maybe that was just too much for Quavo to, accept. As much as I love WAP, I love Cardi, I love Megan, I thought it was a little inappropriate for bitches to be scissoring on stage at the Grammys. Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought it was a little bit inappropriate. They are they're clearly scissoring. And I don't know. I was a little curious. Did anybody have an orgasm? Or I don't know. I was a little curious about that. I'm just like, and then they in a bed. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I mean, if it's meant to be like pushing the boundary, if it's just meant to be that, that's fine. But I don't know. I thought this was a bit inappropriate. But I will say, Snoop Dogg 20 years ago went in there and had bitches on leashes. So if it's good for the goose, then I guess it's good for the gander. I didn't have a problem with Cardi's outfit. I didn't have a problem with Megan's outfit. It was just once they was on stage simulating sex, I thought that was a bit much. And I know people going to say, oh, well, Britney and Madonna kissed. Yeah, but they wasn't on stage scissoring. Cardi and Megan might as well ate each other out, honestly. That's how I feel. And would I have minded seeing that? No. I wouldn't mind seeing them do sexual favors to one another. But you know when I want to see that? When I'm in my cell phone, in private mode, in my browser, on Pornhub. Not when I'm watching potentially a fucking kid. Whatever. I'm just talking. My opinion don't mean shit. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are millionaires. Quavo's a millionaire. Saweetie, if she not a millionaire, she got millionaires around her. So they don't give a damn what I'm saying. I just needed to get something light out after that heavy ass, sad ass, extreme story. So this was the Black Podcast Show. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. One more. Don't forget the motivation for this week. Know your worth. Don't forget I told y'all that. Take that with you. If you don't take nothing else from this show with you, remember I said that. Know your worth. If you've been selling yourself short, it's time to stop. Put an end to that. Cut it off. Know your worth and don't accept nothing less. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like, share, comment, all that. I appreciate it so much. Join the Black Podcast Show group. Tell your friends about it. And y'all have a good night. I'll be back next Monday.
He can't breathe, you ain't trying to hear that. But if we holler fuck 12, they so quick to react. Do the crime and make better, that's why we run up these racks. Can't trust the police, cause they might shoot us. Hands up, please don't shoot, they still don't do it. And I'm stating all facts, they don't prove it. That's why I'm out downtown with the looters. Fuck it, break the glass, we need designer too. I see some nigga pull out Hellcat, they may break